Hi, my name is Leo Palma, and today we're going to go over the basic operations of a CO2 laser cutter. In this video, we're going to go over all the basics of using our laser cutters, including proper practices and basic software usage and settings. Today we're going to be covering startup, shutdown, everything that happens in between. This includes the following. We're going to be setting up the machine, the workspace, and the computer. We're going to be using Lightburn to import designs and get them ready for cutting. We're going to be using the laser cutter. Then we're going to be shutting down the machine, computer, and cleaning up your workspace. So first thing we're going to be doing is cleaning up our workspace. That means we're removing anything laying around or on top of the laser. In this case, we've got nothing going on inside, so we're pretty much set. We're going to turn on the fan, which is our first step. We're going to make sure it's turned on by doing this simple process. I'm going to grab you and come over here. We've already got a friend over here using the laser cutter today, so I bet we've got the fan on already. Still, we're going to double check over here. We have our switch pointing towards us. It's pointing left, our direction. If it wasn't clicked in, you'd click this way and then it'd be on. I like to put my hand on the sticker tube and make sure I feel some vibrations. Yep, absolutely. We've got air coming out. That means everything is filtered and good for us. Next thing we got to do is make sure our power strip for this laser is on. In this case, everything turns on with this flip of the switch. That means we've got our chiller on, we've got all of our units on back here. The workspace is coming to life. In this case, if we want to turn on the laser over here, we're going to run also to the back through this little cubby and flip this switch right here. We've already got it on, we've got a glowing red dot, so I'm not going to go ahead and switch that on for you. While we're turning on the computer, we're going to go ahead and close anything that was left behind. We're going to assume that everybody has a copy of their project. So I can say, no, I don't want to save it before closing. Close it out to the desktop. We're going to need to track down Lightburn, which is this dragon shape kind of thing. It's in the taskbar too. I'm going to double click on Lightburn. Now we're going to want to import our image or import our DXF. We can take JPEGs, PNGs for images, and we can take SVGs and DXF for vector stuff. If you're curious about that, check out the link in the top right. But for now, we're going to click File in the top left. And we're going to click Import. Great. I'm going to assume you already have your image in the downloads. Here I have Pete the Cat. I'm going to click Open. And then I'm going to also import, just so we can see, I'm going to import a SVG for us. I'm going to click File and then Import. And I'm going to import my DXF. I have this in the downloads in a folder. Great. So some things about navigating Lightburn we're going to want to get familiar with real quick is you can spin this scroll wheel to zoom. If you scroll inwards, you're going to zoom in. Scroll out, you zoom out. You can pan around using this same button by just clicking it down, right? Your hand turns into this like grabby fist thing. Great, we're going to scroll around, pan, find a comfortable space using zooming and panning to work. You can move things around by these control points. If I just want to move something, I don't want to grab something on the outside. I want to grab this middle dot where a cross shows up and drag it over here. I don't want these on top of each other. One thing right away that you're going to see me doing a lot is left clicking to select. If I click on something, it'll either select one little part of my drawing or it'll select the whole piece. In this case, if I'm clicking on my items and I'm just getting little selections, I can also drag a box around what I'm drawing to select everything at once. There's two types of dragging boxes. This left to right red box is a select inside, and this right to left is a green outside. This is a little familiar if you're used to Illustrator or something. Another thing we want to be familiar with is right-clicking for some simple options. If I right-click on an image, I have a lot of things I can do. If I right-click on this, I have a lot of options. If you see me right-click, it's going to be blue. If you see me left-click, it's going to be yellow. So I've got two different file types here. If I click on this solid lined DXF that I brought in, it's set in a fill mode. This means it's already vectorized. I need to get Pete the Cat in that same type of setting. Right now it's got a white background. It's labeled as an image. I don't want to work with that today. So I need to left-click, select Pete the Cat, right-click, and I want to trace image. This is going to help me vectorize. In case you're curious what vectorization is, I got a link in the top right that will help you understand. But basically, we are just tracing lines around an image, lines that the laser will follow and cut or engrave on. So If I click fade image, we can see a little bit more clearly what's going on. These purple lines are what the machine is going to track. It's turning all these kind of pixelated things into a nice and smooth follow line. So this is looking great. I don't need to do any adjustments. In case you're having trouble, you can lower your threshold and it'll only outline certain darkness patterns. You can raise your threshold and it'll try to grab more outside of your range. With more complicated images, you're going to do a lot of playing here. We have more videos on Lightburn that might help you out in the description. Anyways, I think this is great. I'm going to click OK. Get a nice vectorized image here. Now we have no white background. Everything's on a fill mode, and that means we're good to go. Here's something we might need to do too in case I wanted to move this Pete the Cat lettering maybe down or up. If I select just this wording down here, I'm having some trouble because I can't just move that piece around. I need to ungroup it first. Everything is all in one selection. So I'm going to right click my letters. I'm going to click ungroup, right? I'm going to click off. And then now when I click back on, I can move individual pieces. These are ungrouped objects. To undo that move I just did, by the way, you click Control Z, or you click this undo button up here. It shows you the keybind just in case you forget. Now I can kind of make my choice to move down my lettering. If I highlight this way, I'm accidentally grabbing, I think, a little bit of the face. So maybe if I go the other way with a red box select, great, I can just move the text. And say, okay, I don't like the way this DXF came out. All the lines are separate. I might want to select my object here and then right click and group it. Great, now when I grab one piece, I'm not moving around that little line. I can move these nicely for my box. Next up, we're gonna do a little bit of sizing. I'm gonna pan over to Pete the Cat, and I think I want to make an engraving with a 2.5 inch height. How can I really describe that to the laser? Well, we have one option, which is in the top left. We have this dimensions window where we can set our height appropriately. We have an aspect lock on. What that means, this blue lock, is that if I change the height, see how it just scaled the width accordingly? It's not all stretched out. Let me undo that move, turn off the lock for you. When I turn up the height this time, I type in 2.5 and hit enter. It stretches upwards. We don't really want that. It looks a little bit wonky. So I'm going to undo that again, lock it, and then set my height. That's just how you can fix some of those stretching problems. Another way we can resize too is a little bit simpler. It's just using these control points. So we have the option to just grab this top right, top left, bottom left, whatever. You can grab a corner and then stretch it in. Great. It'll scale it down. Now I have some measurement values I can kind of reference. I can scale it way up. It's just a good way to eyeball some stuff, and maybe say if I wanted to drag it in the middle here and make it fit to this box, it's a real quick fix. There we go, just to eyeball it on. Really nice and helpful. Another way to use these control points too is if I grab just the top, if I grab a side, it'll do the same kind of scaling, that like stretchy stuff, no aspect ratio lock on it, right? Another helpful tool in case you're just trying to eyeball it. I'm gonna undo that because I don't want to stretch my image. But that's how you can do some basic resizing. Some text stuff, really, really helpful. We have a whole toolbar over here we haven't even begun to talk about, but it's super, super helpful for writing out basic text. I'm gonna click this A over here on the left. It's create or edit text. And I'm going to click in the middle of my zone where I want to type out my lettering. I've got some basic text options that just popped up here. I can set fonts and heights and stuff. Let me type in something just to get started. I'll put down my name. And I can start changing around the font, look at a couple options. I think this one looks great. Let's go with Chewy. I can up my height and stuff right here. I have a lot of options if you want to get fancy with your text. All kinds of bold and italic and stuff. But one more thing we can do, since sometimes you want to write out a lot of text, is we can set horizontal and vertical spacing. I'm going to do some hello world text right here, and I'm going to up my horizontal space. That increases the space between lettering. And if I click this, it increases the space between my lines. So this can be really, really helpful if you're trying to just carefully fit everything in, or you want a certain styling on your lettering. You can also go negative with this stuff if you want them crunched, upping each other. Really helpful little adjustments you can make on your text. We got into some basic shape creation a little earlier on, but I want to show you some more stuff we can do. If I draw a box and I draw a circle, kind of like this. Oops, not a circle. I grab my circle and draw something like this, great. And say I want a funky shape like this, right? Ignoring this negative space effect happening here. If I just draw a box to select both of these items, and I use my tools, I have some welding, Boolean difference, Boolean intersection, and Boolean assistant options. The important ones you want to keep in mind are Boolean union. If I select my two shapes and I click Boolean union, I can combine these two. Real nice and easy. If I were doing a line path, we're going to get into this in a minute, my line path now will follow this whole shape instead of cutting out a line in the middle here. So let me undo that. Great, that was a Boolean union. Since I'm not even sure the differences between these types, I can get down to the Boolean assistant, which is really helpful. It'll let me try out all these options if I just hover my mouse over it. I think this might be a great place to start in case you're curious or you want to find out just the setting that works for you. So go ahead, whenever you're doing welds like this, go to Tools, Boolean Assistant, and hover over some options. It's really helpful. Great, so now I want to get into what I sort of jumped the gun on, which is line versus fill, or cut versus engrave. It's pretty simple. Line is cut and fill is engrave. What that means, if I move these shapes out of each other, I think everything here in this region is set to fill. Even this is set to fill, which is a little bit of a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and select all this, delete it temporarily. And I just want to show you in the preview what a fill looks like. This is a little bit sped up, but it's the laser going back and forth and really quickly doing a sort of burn or standard engraving that you would expect from a laser. It's not cutting anything out. It's just burning the wood on a surface to etch in your lettering. It's pretty cool. Great, but that is fill. If I want to switch my mode to line, that's going to turn everything into like a cutting path. So if I go ahead and click preview right here and I click play, this is real fast. I got to slow that way down. This is a cutting path. It would try to cut this out of whatever wood, acrylic, cardboard I've got loaded in. It's not the same as a fill. It's not going to fill in all this stuff and make it dark. It's just cutting stuff out. So you can see how this is really helpful, these two options. You might want to do a combination of stuff. Maybe you want an engraving here. I can select this piece and set it to a layer that is for engraving. Oh boy, I better get my sheet out. So I may want to get my sheet out and get a look at my options. I think I want a medium engrave on this lettering, which means I'm going to use the color 5 down here. I click 5. Great, now I've got a fill going on here, and I might want to cut that out. So I'm going to drag my engraving into this box, which is set to line. If I click on it, I can double check, yes, it's on the line layer, which is set to a 1/4 inch cut on my little sheet right here. So really good for reference. You can do a bit of engraving, you do a bit of cutting. I want to set one real key thing. I'm going to set one thing in stone in your mind forever, for the rest of time forever, is to grab your fill layers, bring them up top. You can put them right on top of your line, kind of like that. Put it right on top of your line and make sure fill always comes first. If you have a bunch of layers going on, I don't care. Fill, then line, line, line. So let's see what that looks like. Perfect, right? On our preview, it's a little TV button up here. It's doing a fill, and then it's gonna go ahead and cut my thing out. This is for alignment's sake. If you cut out a piece and it falls out of the little catch that we have on the laser, if it falls out of place, it twists, it turns, whatever, your lettering is gonna look sideways. It's gonna burn it on in the wrong place. So we wanna make sure we always do engraving first. You're gonna work inside out. I actually really wanna engrave this Pete the Cat here, so I'm gonna select it all with a box and then set it to 5 for an engrave. Settings sheet, we're just going to reference this thing straight up. We have our options. You're going to be measuring out your piece to determine its thickness, and then you're going to pick one of these 4 cuts, or you get as close as you can. If you have something in between, you're going to go with the closest value, and then this is just preference, these kind of engravings. You can try light, medium, and dark before you make your finished product. You're just going to pick one of the 3. Those are these colors down here. You got your cuts, and then you have your engraves. Cool, I'm going to set that back to an engrave. One last thing. I'm going to undo a lot. I want to get my box back. Great, I had this thing earlier. Okay, Your end probably looks something like this if you have everything set to 0, 0, right? A nice line cut. So I want to specify that hello world and my Pete the Cat are going to be engravings. I don't think I want these shapes after all, so I'm going to select and delete. That means I'm going to grab these guys, do a box over them, hit 5, remember this is a medium engraving off the sheet, and I'm going to grab this guy from the middle, put him on this piece, grab this guy over here, drag him, and put him on this piece. I'm going to need to shrink this down a little bit. I'm just going to use control points, but I'm right here. Nice. So I have some lines going. I have an engraving going. This will be great. You know what? Why not? I'm going to grab the camera. I'll show you guys where I'm getting my wood scraps from. Let's grab this. I'm going to walk over here, typically, or wherever we have a nice pile of donated wood. We have some options of different thicknesses. This looks like about a 1/2 inch thick. I've got this nice pane I could use. I could use all this space right here. I actually have some of my own personal stuff where the projects are stored. So let me go ahead and grab that. Cool. So I have this really thin piece I can use. This is all craft ply that you could get off of Amazon. Yeah, I think I want to use this really thin stuff. Super cool. I'm going to grab this, put my box back. I don't want to leave a mess. You can also go ahead and grab a ruler. It might already be on the desk, and it might be at one of the tables in the middle of the room. But I can double check my thickness. It looks like I've got about 1/16 of an inch. You might not be able to tell, but that is a really low cut. It looks like that's a number 3, 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and set my black lines to that instead. So let me go ahead and select all that stuff, set it to 3. Cool. You might have noticed when I set it to this layer that I had my output off. Here's some settings in the layers panel we want to keep in mind. If I flip this on, these lines get a little bit more clear. And if I flip them off, they get really, really hazy. In my preview, which is this TV button, and I click play, I'm noticing, okay, I'm doing my filling, but that line isn't coming out, right? That's because the output is off. So you want to make sure that you have all those layers on before we work any further. So just being absolutely sure, we have my 1/16 of an inch cut. We have my engraving going. We have the fill coming before the line. And now I can fix my control points. Nice. Okay. What I mean by this control points thing, this origin, job origin, it's this green dot that's showing up in the top right. I have top right selected, so the origin is in the top right. I could select top left, bottom left, right? But why would I select one over the other, right? The reason I might select one over the other is because of the physical size of what I'm working with. So if I'm working with something like this, it's a fresh piece, I kind of get to choose, but maybe I want to line it up with this point, which means I want to set my job origin to this top right button. I have my green dot right here. If I was working with, say, a piece of scrap wood, and I really got to be careful about where I put my piece, say I take out this 1/2 inch stuff out of the scrap bin pile, I've got some space to work off of, but I might need to align it with the top left, a nice even corner. It's kind of hard to line it up on this rounded edge. So I'd come over here and click job origin, top left. Right now, I don't want to work with this stuff. I really don't like cutting thick wood if I can avoid it. So I'm going to go ahead and click top right. I guess it doesn't matter because I'm just using a sheet where I can choose whatever I like. But do your best to pick the smartest option, whatever helps you align it better. I know it's a little bit alien because we haven't got to the machine or what aligning looks like yet, but I'd say just pick one for now and we can come back and set a new one later if it's a problem. Something real important we're going to want to do, we're going to make sure our laser door is closed before we send out our file, right? This is just to be extra careful in case you accidentally hit start. We don't want it open. We only want things running when the door is closed. You're going to go ahead and come here to click send, click OK. I'm going to send all this data. It might take a minute. You're going to hear a beep from the laser. And when the machine is safe, it's not moving, it's not started, we can continue. We're going to show you how to jog around using this controller in the little spot right here. So let's get a close-up going. Your controller might not look exactly like ours. In that case, you may want to get some help from your lab tech. You have up, left, right, and down. If you're pressing these right now, you're probably seeing something like this happen over here. You're seeing a bit of downwards, left, right, and upwards movement. Pretty cool. We're doing this really fast. If you want to be super fine about it, you click this button in the middle to slow down the dial. And then when you hold left, it's real slow. Hold right, it's real slow. Good for fine movement. I don't like running around in fast mode too much. You're gonna wanna get comfortable with that. To change the menu to the up and down or the Z setting, or if you accidentally have already discovered it, click this button in the top right. Buttons look the same, but now they have letters all over, right? So what's the deal here? Z up and Z down is moving the bed of the laser. We can go ahead and open it up. It's not firing, so it's safe. It's moving this metal bed of the laser up or down. That is really important for homing and scaling. So this is kind of the Z homing menu. The focusing process is a little funky, so in case you're not ready to do that yet, we're gonna start in the normal menu. I'm gonna go ahead and click this button here to switch my normal settings. I'm gonna set my piece down somewhere. I'm gonna try to line it up to be like a right angle with the bed as best I can. I don't want it all crooked like that. That would be annoying. Let's get it nice and straight as best I can. And then I'm going to jog my laser out to that point. In this case, this is kind of where we get to pick, right? This is like the job origin stuff. Say I want to start in the top left. I mean, that's pretty convenient. I'm going to have to change my file over here back to top left origin. But that's a nice, quick, easy fix. Great. I have my top left origin. So I think I'm good here. I want to click origin. I want to set my little point. I'm going to get into homing before I move on to checking the size of my piece, but I have set my origin. I'm going to go into my Z homing menu that sets all the letters to C and U. In my Z menu, I'm going to be extra sure that I'm in the slow mode. I don't want to make any fast adjustments here. If I come over here and I click, say, Z down, you're going to notice the whole bed is lowering. If I raise it, the whole bed is raising. It's kind of hard to tell unless you're right up against it. So let's lower the bed. So this is Z down, right? It's dropping. Z up, raising, right? We're gonna want to take this puck that is out of this slider, out of here. We're gonna bring it right on top of our piece. We're gonna put the little blue spot underneath our laser head, get our piece straight as best we can. And then we're going to raise the laser head close up onto it, right? We want to get it just to where maybe we can fit a piece of paper almost under it. We really do not want to crash this head into the puck though. So you just want to be close. You want to check it kind of like this. Okay, there's a little bit of a distance, a little bit of a shadow. Raise it a little bit by little bit. Make sure we're not crashing anything. Kind of like this. Let's move it out of the way now. We're real close. Adjust it up, little presses, and see, can I fit it under? Okay, still I can, right? Okay, it's getting a little stuck. That's perfect. That means we're nicely homed. That's right on the money. Cool. So now that we have our piece homed, I'm gonna set this right back and let's get a wider angle here. So that is all your homing done. Let's go ahead and fix our origin and boxing. This is pretty simple stuff. I'm gonna go back to our normal menu. So I'm gonna click that to change, top right button. I'm gonna click origin, because I think I've got it in the top left, or if I can be even more precise about it, get it right in the corner, then click origin, nice and firmly, and click box. It'll show me, oh no, it's set with the top right, right? So that means the file that I sent it here has its control or job origin in the wrong spot. So let me come over here and set my job origin to the top left. Great. And send that new information over. I'm gonna click OK. Wait that out. Get back to our spot here. Now we've got that, we've got our origin. I can run a box in the correct position. Super cool. Exactly the size of the wood. That was kind of an accident. If you're noticing that it's falling off the edges of your piece, you're going to need to go back into Lightburn and make some adjustments. What I recommend you do is you take out a ruler or some calipers and you measure out your piece in its entirety. And now I can say comfortably, okay, this thing is 12 inches wide, and I can say it is 8 inches tall. Super cool. That means I can come back to Lightburn and then I can start adjusting some things on this end. I can grab my whole shape and I could say, okay, maybe I need to shrink it down. I'm gonna lock my aspect ratio and I want it to be smaller. I want it to be 8 inches. This is kind of a funky example because this is meant to be a box that interlocks, but I'm just using it as little example pieces. Don't mind that. We have a video on our box project that'll explain a little bit more info about resizing. So don't mind that right now. We got our thing resized a little smaller. I'm gonna send the new info, okay. Get that going again on a box. Click origin, box, everything's nice and correct to the right size. When I run it over, it's kind of hard to tell, but when I box it and it's doing this top edge, I'm hearing a little bit of air hissing. That means that my wood is actually a little bit slanted. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix that right now. Make sure it's nice right angle. Origin, box. Now I'm not hitting the hissing from when it goes off the edge. That's perfect. So some last minute safety reminders. We wanna make sure that the ventilation over there, the fan is on. And we want to make sure that our door here is closed. Let's shut that gently. Great. We want to make sure our laser is focused and the puck is right back where it should be. And we want to get ready to click start. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and click start. It's going to start the job. And I'll give you some heads up on some expectations we have. If anything is on fire, we have an awesome emergency stop button right here. You can slam it down, it'll stop the whole job. If you need to walk away, take a break, you're gonna wanna click pause on this menu. That means it'll stop the job temporarily and you can come back and resume it. You need to be around the laser at all times or have it within eye shot. That means you absolutely can work over here where the laptop is seated. You can work at these tables back here right next to the laser, but we need you to be checking in on your job constantly. We do not want it left unattended. While the laser is running, please do not open the door for any reason. You're going to want to stop or pause your job before you go ahead and try that. Please follow all the laser warnings we have posted on the machine. A lot of them have to do with banned materials. We have a lot of resources up here that will walk you through what you can or can't bring in. We have some information relating to the wattage of the laser in case you're curious. Want to follow some guides online that might be the same ratings. You just want to be really careful with this machine, and if at any point in the process you have questions, call over a staff member and we'd be happy to walk you through laser expectations. The laser is generally pretty fast actually, but you have its runtime in the bottom left here. It's kind of like a preview of what's going on in person. I suppose you could just look left, but yeah, it'll give you a bit of a percentage. It's about 10% of the way through. That means I might be waiting another 20 minutes or so. I don't actually want to use all my wood cutting out this design, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it. But otherwise, I'd say you could just let your design finish. So I'm just setting a very short piece to be cut out right now. That means I'm resending. I'm using my same origin and box. I already have it homed. Looks like that box went pretty good up here. I'm going to go ahead and start that. It's hard to tell exactly, but it looks like I'm engraving it so dark that it's cutting out the lettering. So I'd recommend, if you're seeing something like this, maybe start it on another piece of the wood and turn down your engraving setting. Maybe go with, say, a light engraving instead of a medium engraving. Just about wrapping up here. So now that it's done, it let out a big beep. I'll go ahead and open the door slowly. Give it a few seconds for all the fumes to vent. Especially if you're using acrylic, you're going to want to wait about 10 seconds before you open anything up. I go ahead and take my piece out. My little thing came right out. Pretty cool. You can see the engraving was way too deep, so there's holes straight through it. I would want to do a lighter engraving next time. So go ahead and close this lid. I've got someone about to work on the laser, so I'm going to still show you what you would do if you were to shut down normally. You'd come over here to the fan, and if nobody else is using the laser, you would flip it off to the middle position. But in this case, you've got two people ready to go, so I'm going to leave it all to the next person and call it a day. That was everything on the CO2 laser cutter. A lot of possibilities, got a lot of videos and helpful reference guides to help you get going and make exactly what you want out of this machine. Thanks for watching.